Napoleon Bonaparte, a name that reverberates through the corridors of history with unparalleled resonance. Undoubtedly, Napoleon's prowess as a military strategist remains legendary. Leading his troops through the crucible of more than 80 battles, he emerged victorious in a staggering 90% of them, a feat only surpassed by Alexander the Great, Sun Tzu, and Genghis Khan. His strategic acumen virtually shaped the contours of modern warfare, etching his name indelibly as the paragon of military genius. Born on the rugged terrain of Corsica in 1769, Napoleon's journey to immortality began amidst the tumult of revolution and upheaval. Endowed with a keen intellect and an insatiable hunger for glory, he ascended through the ranks of the military hierarchy very rapidly, from the military academy to the rank as commander of a small army, when he swiftly emerged victorious during the Toulon battle by enforcing a withdrawal of the Anglo-Spanish fleet that sieged the city and its port and fortresses. After his military success of Toulon, Napoleon managed to win a staggering 24 battles in a row against the Kingdom of Sardinia, the Habsburgs from Italy, and against the Maltese during his Mediterranean campaign in June of 1798. Napoleon Bonaparte's expedition to Egypt in July 1798 to cut off the British route to India. What covertly started under the pretext of a scientific endeavour which quickly transformed into a full-scale military campaign, catching Europe by surprise and igniting the War of the Second Coalition, by which he won a staggering victory at the Battle of the Pyramids, as well as the remaining 7 victorious battles in the Middle East. Amidst the chaos of war, Napoleon's scientific pursuits left an indelible mark on history. His expedition to Egypt unearthed the Rosetta Stone, unlocking the secrets of the ancient hieroglyphic alphabet, upon which his scientist Jean-François Champollion could unravel most mysteries of Egyptian culture. On itself, probably the most important step in Egyptology since. As France also faced 2 military setbacks in Egypt, the first being the complete destruction of the French naval fleet in front of the Egyptian Mediterranean coast by the British Admiral Horatio Nelson, and the second being the siege of Acre. After his last Middle East battle at Abukir, Napoleon left his troops in Egypt to their own fate by leaving secretly in the middle of the night in order to seize power back home, establishing himself as the first consul. Leaving his troops to their own fate was evidently not one of Napoleon's greatest achievements. Napoleon's visionary prowess extended beyond the battlefield. He implemented sweeping reforms across France. The Napoleonic Code standardized civil law, while improvements to education and the economy modernized French society, including giving every street a name and every house a number, as well as the law of mandatory registration for every French citizen, up to perfecting all sewer systems to eradicate the undesirable smells that often plagued most European cities, with Paris being the first example. After he won the Battle of Marengo, Napoleon elevated himself to first consul for life in 1802, consolidating power further. His ambitions extended beyond France. He brokered the Louisiana Purchase with the United States, doubling its territory, which on itself is the largest real estate transaction in recorded history, which gave France a huge sum of money secretly paid in gold, with which he financed a new and better army to fight the War of the Third Coalition in 1803, which was already looming on the horizon due to mounting tensions with Great Britain. However, in October 1805, when the combined fleet of France and Spain suffered a spectacular defeat at the Battle of Trafalgar against the British fleet led by Admiral Lord Nelson, France would not be able to overcome this colossal loss of naval power during the remaining time of Napoleon's reign. Albeit that Nelson showed the world his most brilliant and superior tactics during the Battle of Trafalgar, which gave him the status of national hero #1 in Britain, he had to pay the ultimate price for it with his own life. Napoleon's military campaigns on the mainland of Europe, however, reshaped Europe. His innovative military tactics and mass conscription allowed him to conquer vast territories, defeating long-standing powers like Austria and Prussia. This started to be evident in December of 1805 at the Battle of Austerlitz, where Napoleon obliterated the armies of Austria-Hungary and Russia in a most spectacular way, and followed by the Battle of Jena in October 1806, where Napoleon defeated the Prussians and Saxons in a most decisive victory. The following 5 years, Napoleon waged war through an additional 11 battles, of which he only lost the Battle of Aspern-Essling against the Austrian Empire in May 1809. By 1812, the French Empire spanned much of Europe, but a fateful invasion of Russia proved disastrous. Facing a brutal Russian winter and fierce resistance, Napoleon's army suffered immense losses at the Battle of Borodino with 130,000 French troops against 120,000 Russian troops, before he entered a completely abandoned Moscow unopposed. By that time, Napoleon realized he fell for the trap, being far in Russian territory without a decisive victory, with the stringent Russian winter just around the corner. Napoleon was forced to hastily retreat before the winter could take a toll on his army. Unfortunately, the Russians knew this all too well and made Napoleon suffer as much as they could with relentless guerrilla warfare from Russian peasants and Cossacks on horseback. By the time he reached the river Berezina, on November 26, 1812, his Grand Army was reduced to a third of its size and completely demoralized by the cold and diseases carried by lice. Although Napoleon had to retreat at the Battle of the Berezina, he managed to regroup and reorganize his remaining army to win yet again 4 victories in a row with the battles at Lutzen, Bautzen, Reichenbach and Dresden in August 1813. After which, Napoleon's Russian campaign, like Hitler's Operation Barbarossa some 130 years later, proved to be fatal for the survival of his empire. At the Battle of Leipzig in October 1813, all the European Allied forces turned against France by surrounding Napoleon's armies with 300,000 soldiers from Austria, Prussia, Romania, Russia and Sweden, upon which he was given the opportunity to abdicate, following the surrender of Paris in 1814. The great French commander was forced to live the remainder of his life on the island of Elba. Yet, being Napoleon Bonaparte, a man who was not to be disregarded due to a defeat, he escaped Elba and staged a dramatic return to France in 1815, sparking the 100 Days. Although initially successful, his spectacular defeat at Waterloo, mainly caused by bad weather circumstances and the soft, muddy ground, marked the end of his reign. Exiled to St. Helena, Napoleon spent his final years reflecting on his legacy. His impact on France and Europe remains contentious, with views ranging from revolutionary hero to power-hungry despot. Nevertheless, his military genius and his brilliant and enduring reforms on French society were gradually copied by the rest of the world, on which he became effectively a reformer of the world. Against all his achievements in life summed up, very few people in history can stand next to Napoleon Bonaparte, a titan in the annals of history.